Smashing Machine received a 15-minute standing ovation at the Venice Film Festival. I could have opened Premiere Pro and watched it crash twice in that time. This film was directed by Benny Safdie. He previously directed Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. And this film features Dwayne Johnson, Emily Blunt, Ryan Bader, Bas Rutten, and Alexander Usyk. Now, the story is mainly about Mark Kerr's character and his relationship with Dawn and kind of their problems along his fighting career and how they both face those problems. So throughout this film, Mark goes on a few fights, and the main emotion driver of this film is in between the fights, how Dawn couldn't quite handle him and his problems, and then she didn't really know what to do with him, and then that led to their separation throughout this movie. This movie really shows you that every time Dawn was involved around his fights, whether she went to watch his fights or just was there before the fight, he basically just crumbled and lost or just couldn't. He just kept, his mind was somewhere else, which was on Dawn. And then we really see, so all his friends were telling him, don't, are you sure about this? Are you sure about this? And then he kept bringing her on and on because he was like addicted to her, like he was addicted to the morphine. So Mark Kerr's character gets progressively worse and worse as the film goes on. He starts overusing morphine, which eventually leads him to go to rehab as he overdosed on the morphine. After Mark comes back from rehab, his character gets progressively, better and better, healthier and healthier, and starts, focusing more on the fights and not just the overuse of morphine or constantly worrying about Dawn and what she's doing. Whereas Dawn, after Mark's rehab, just gets progressively even more worse and worse and worse because she just can't deal with this new Mark. It's kind of like an emotion-driven plot where we see how the two reacted against each other and how both of them had their own problems and how neither of them really dealt with the problems correctly. This movie really shows you that every time Dawn was involved around his fights, whether she went to watch his fights or just was there before the fight, he basically just crumbled and lost or just couldn't. He just kept, his mind was somewhere else, which was on Dawn. I think this film focuses a lot on the toxicness of Mark Kerr's and Dawn's relationship and how that relationship had a lot of effect on Mark's fights. So the more we explore this relationship and the film, we see a more and more toxic environment where Mark starts over abusing morphine and just starts losing fights, not really caring about fights because he's nonstop arguing with Dawn throughout the entire movie, like right before his fights. I think that The Rock's performance in this movie was absolutely fantastic. This was the best performance we've ever seen from him, without a doubt. I think The Rock really nailed this film emotionally. He really made you feel one at one with Mark Kerr and kind of made you understand how Mark felt throughout his career. It really shuts up a lot of critics who said The Rock can only play himself in movies. Even Mark Kerr's real son was saying how shocked he is how The Rock basically nailed everything down to a T, like all his mannerisms, his speech, his movements, everything. Even though it wasn't really an action-driven film, it honestly kept you engaged the entire time. There wasn't really a point where I was like, oh, this is boring. I think in general, this film was really good and definitely worth a watch for absolutely everybody. It's really inviting to all audiences. There's not really, you don't have to know about the UFC at all to watch this movie. I've watched it with my mum and she loved the movie, even though she knows absolutely nothing about the UFC. Let me know if you enjoyed this movie and what you thought about The Rock's performance and whether you're a UFC fan or not and how that affected your viewing experience of this movie. So yeah, thank you.